Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
What happened? Come on. There we go. Yeah. It's like riding into town. What's going on, all you scallywags and nutmeggers out there? It's Reese on the radio. On News Talk 1080 WTIC, we are ready to go. We got so much news, so much views, a whole bunch of stuff for this week. We got giveaways. We've got between rounds. God, we got the yard goats. We got everything. So be prepared. I want to let you guys know that the Reese on Radio program never sleeps. I know you guys know that. I say it enough. That when there's nothing going on, I've got to do more and more research on something that I can't let go. I'm like a rabid dog, I know. And as much as I have been talking about this DQuad thing, it has got you riled up. The more you find out about this stuff, the more you are engaged. Today, I have very, very important news about Connecticut, about DEEP, and about DQuad. This story is far from new. This story is far older than what you may know. It just didn't get a lot of attention. And because we have so much news coming at us, like lightning fast, people forget about stories in an instant because you're on to the next. DQuad was an issue in 2017, folks. And a group of very, very feisty individuals, feisty nutmeggers, were able to get between the state and their community and fought back. And I'm going to tell you the story that no one else is reporting and the news media reluctantly brought up. There is other information that we have with regards to the EPA. You may have been asking yourself, why is it that China has banned DQuad? Why is it that the United Kingdom has banned DQuad, but yet the Army Corps of Engineers has not? It sounds crazy. It sounds weird. It just makes no sense. We have an answer for you. Today, we have an answer. And all you politicians who signed on to that letter trying to protect DEEP, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the application of DQuad into the waters, you should be ashamed of yourself for coming on this program. I'm talking to you, Representative Muir, saying that the EPA has tested DQuad and it is safe. Saying that you studied this. Saying that you did your homework. Well, ma'am, I am calling you and every other Democrat who signed on to that letter, I'm calling them out today. You lied. You did no research because the EPA didn't do any research in the last 30 years. And we have evidence of that. You lied on this program and you're lying to your constituents. And now we have the evidence that you did. And we're going to get to that later on today because Chris Webby is back on the program at 4 o'clock and we'll talk to him. And we'll talk about the assassination of his character that people have been putting out there to say in some way that this guy's spreading rumor and innuendo and mis and disinformation, we are going to salvage that man's reputation. And as these kids say in the hood, we are going to give him his flowers. By the way, I hate that saying. We'll get into that. People say that there's a mistrust in government, Representative Muir said. Now we know why. Now, speaking of Democrats, I'd like to point out, I don't know how many people in the prison system, people locked up in jails, listen to this program. I hope that they do. I hope that they listen to the program on their little radios. I hope when they're sitting idly by in the afternoon trying to figure out something to do, they're listening to Reese on the radio, because boy, am I going to speak to you. If you've got family members who have been incarcerated, maybe just being held at a holding cell, doing what the kids call a little skid bid, maybe 1 to 3, maybe even a couple of months. Maybe you spent a little time getting locked up. You had a DUI. You as a kid, you probably, committed some act of vandalism where you had to spend a little time in the pokey. This is not about judging you. I just want you to listen to this. You have Democrats down at Alligator Alcatraz this weekend. Rep. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You got her down there. You got Maxwell Frost. He's been doing the rounds with our very own Chris Murphy. He went down there. Well, he's from Florida. But nonetheless, he went down to Alligator Alcatraz. And they had something to say about the people who were in prison there. And I want to play this for you. Anybody who's ever done a little skid bid, maybe you got locked up in the overnight, maybe you've even been to juvie. Maybe you just got out. But do you remember what it was like when you were locked up? It's incredible what these people will tell you about those who were locked up in Alligator Alcatraz. Let's play Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her concern with what it looks like, what the conditions are inside the holding cells at the new Alcatraz.
They are using cages. These detainees are living in cages. The pictures that you've seen don't do it justice. They are essentially packed into cages, wall-to-wall humans, 32 detainees per cage. The only thing inside those cages are their bunk beds, and there are 3 tiny toilets that are toilet units that have a sink attached to it.
Now, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is describing this to people who don't know what prisons or jails look like. A majority of Americans do not. But those of you who do, you know what you heard. Tiny toilets with sinks attached to them, as she describes the conditions inside Alligator Alcatraz. But if this bozo knew anything, that's exactly what our prison systems look like everywhere. Everywhere. It's a toilet where behind it there is a water fountain / sink. It's right behind it. It's been there forever. These aren't new toilet sink attachments that they invented for Alligator Alcatraz. They're everywhere. They are mass-produced for the prison systems in and around the country, if not internationally. These weren't specially made, but because Wasserman Schultz has clearly never visited an actual prison anywhere in her district or around the country, she would know. So when she saw those toilets with the sinks attached, all the clutching of pearls began.
So they essentially drink, they get their drinking water, and they brush their teeth where they poop.
It's called the bathroom. just today, I was brushing my teeth, and to the left, hey, there's where I poop. To my left. Every bathroom across the world has a sink and a toilet right in the same room, right practically next to each other. Try to live in an apartment in New York City where it's really, really small. I mean, they're practically attached to each other. So she's trying to shock the world by these conditions. Oh, it gets better.
In the same unit. They bragged that they went above standards, supposedly, and gave them a 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length inside the 32 detainee cage. A 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length of the 3 toilets in a row.
Any local prison, any local, jail housing area, same deal. That's standard.
The showers provide no privacy at all. There are no curtains on it. It's a big open shower unit. There are, small walls in each shower.
Did she think this was a spa? It's an open air shower area, just like any high school gymnasium. Have you ever been to one? An open air shower. There's no private suites inside the showers. They usually suggest to the men that are in there to keep on their underwear and wash their clothing so that people aren't, totally nude. But nonetheless, it's an open air shower area. This isn't common to just prisons. Have you ever watched Porky's or any other high school sophomoric comedy? Usually if there is a scene inside the showers, all the boys are just hanging out. All the girls are just hanging out inside the showers. It's been a standard for generations.
But, we're talking about all 900 men who are held in this facility. It is built currently for 1,000, and they have no privacy at all when they're showering.
They have no privacy. But it gets better, folks. It gets better. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Sorry, it's the bad habit. Debbie Wasserman Schultz went on to talk about the food and the food disparities between the inmates and the guards.
For meals, when we walked through the quote-unquote meal prep area, the kitchen area, for lack of a better term, they had the portions that were available for detainees, and they had the portions that were available for employees being...
Yeah, detainees and employees. Completely different people on this pyramid. The employees who work there, who would probably want some benefits to coming to work, maybe, health care, dental, perhaps a decent meal, so they can continue coming back to get their salary, right? Some sort of benefit package that comes with the work. I don't think that you would get people to return to the job on Alcatraz if they were getting the same portions of the people who were locked up in Alligator Alcatraz. But she went on.
Prepared at the same time. The portions available for employees, large pieces of roast chicken, large sausages, and the detainees' lunches were a small, gray turkey and cheese sandwich, an apple, and chips.
Oh my goodness, the horror! They got turkey and cheese. Unlike the bologna sandwich that every other standard op prison gets. The bologna and bread, and maybe get some mayonnaise with it. The usual dry bologna sandwich you get in prison. These folks got turkey and cheese. Ooh, the outrage. Now listen, again, if you are locked up right now and you have your little radio and you're listening to the program, I know right now you are outraged. You were livid. You would go, what are these people complaining about? These conditions are far better than what your average citizen goes through at the regular county. That's what they're complaining about. Here's Maxwell Frost. He was upset that there were people in there who looked just like him.
They opened the door. There was about 6 security guards standing there, kind of pushing us back, but we could see in and we could hear everybody. And when those doors opened, what I saw made my heart sink. I saw 32 people per cage, about 6 cages in the one tent. I saw a lot of people, young men who looked like me and people who were my age. People were yelling, help me, help me. I heard in the back someone say, I'm a U.S. citizen.
Sure you did.
And as we were walking away, they started chanting, libertad, libertad.
That's not English.
Libertad, freedom.
What? Of course they're screaming freedom. They probably recognize your dodo bird behind from the television. Hey, that's a Democrat. Scream freedom. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get us out of jail. Yeah. Scream libertad, libertad, freedom, freedom. I'm a U.S. citizen. They know who you are. They know what you were doing. They were putting on a show. You have empathy for them.
And in looking into these cages, you could see, of course, it was warm and hot within the tent. People were sweating.
Goodness gracious. Sweating in the heat, unheard of.
Some people had taken off the top of their clothing.
You mean shirts? You mean shirts, Max?
Because it was just so hot. Some of them were drenched in sweat. The food we saw is not enough food. They were being fed essentially a small sandwich and a bag of chips.
Oh. They're getting chips. Hey, you guys over at County, are you guys getting chips?
And not just that, but the conditions outside, of course, it's blazing hot.
It's Florida.
And the fact that into the cage comes from the toilet. Number one, not everyone's going to be able to drink as much water as they'd like to because of that inconvenience, but also it's gross and it's disgusting. And this is where people are being held.
Yes, that's right. That's where they're being held, Max. Rama says something great in the chat room. They yelled Libertad in the movie Scarface, too. I was thinking that, too, when I heard it. It's exactly what I heard. Jeff Carlin says, I just ate chips. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what all of this is for. And again, if you've ever been locked up in county and you know what your experience was like, I want to tell you why Democrats are so outraged at this, but not outraged about you and your fellow comrades who are locked up today. We'll break that down. We'll take a break. More news, more views. Don't go anywhere. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Happy birthday to us. 100 years of serving Connecticut.
We're back. It's Reese on the radio, WTIC News Talk 1080. I want to get to Rudy in a second because he's in Florida. I'm sure he's got some commentary on this, but you guys have been blowing up the chat rooms, so I want to get to them. First, let me address Donald in the chat room. Donald, no, we're not relishing on the demise of others with no compassion or empathy. You may have missed the mark if you joined in late. The only point I'm making here is that these politicians, Max Frost and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, they don't understand that what they saw in that Florida alligator Alcatraz has been going on at county forever. It's as if they did not understand prison systems. Talking about, in other words, trying to convey to the American people that these conditions are deplorable, knowing that most people, average folks, whether they've been to jail or not, understand that what these guys are getting is if no different, if not better under some circumstances, than people who go to jail every day. It's almost going back to that point where this argument about separating families. Well, if this guy's a wanted criminal in El Salvador and he's got a wife and children in the United States, if he's wanted for murder, you have to separate those families the same way you would a heroin dealer or a drug dealer in the United States who has kids. Many people in the United States sell drugs in the inner city. And Donald, I know you know this. Many kids or people inside the inner city sell drugs to feed their babies because they can't get a regular job. Be they have a felony or they have no discernible skills that would be beneficial in the job market. So many of them go to the lowest hanging fruit of selling drugs to feed themselves, if not their family. And when they get locked up, they get separated from them. So that's what we're pointing out here. And I'm sure you understand that. So it's a bit, I don't know. Maybe it's naivete on your part, or maybe you're just being obtuse for the sake of trying to scream the whole we are not passionate or compassionate about these people's plight. We are. They're just not better than anybody else. Now let's get to Rudy. How you doing, big guy?
Freedom. That's what Tammy would say. Let me preface this up just to put this all in perspective, because I attacked her, Debbie Weiserman Schultz.
Yeah.
But do you remember Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah.
When he shot himself in the back? That's what my barracks bathrooms look like.
Yes. Oh, my God. That is a perfect example.
And the bunks in Alligator Alley are the same bunks that I had in the Army.
Yeah, this stuff, these are not newly made. These are not newly manufactured cots or gates or anything like that. These are already used in prison facilities across the country.
They're used in the military.
Yes. That's right.
And here's the deal with military. You have 20 minutes, 30 minutes to eat in boot camp. If you're at the end of the line of 40 guys, you got 5 or 6 minutes.
That's right.
You barely get to eat. You don't get the calories. Here's another thing. Do you know my sheriff? Sheriff Grady Judd, he's been on every news channel.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right. So his county prison does the minimum calories that he can get away with federally, which is like 12 to 1,500 a day. No bread, no juice, no milk. Wow. You can't even get peanut butter or ramen noodles off a commissary. Wow. So he has those big igloo jugs that you see on the sidelines of football games that they dump on the coach.
Oh, yeah.
The trustees come in. I have two dishwashers that go in and out of county down here. They get this like 400 to 500 calorie meal, like one little spring roll, a half a cup of rice, and 4 ounces of chicken. That's their lunch. And then they have to take this little cup up to the trustee and fill it with water. Otherwise, they got to drink out of a sink toilet combination that's in every jail in America and the state of Florida, including Broward County, which is full of New Yorkers and New Englanders. And she knows this.
That's right, Broward County, Broward County, where she's a representative of.
Now remember, I'm from the Midwest, but I spent significant time in New England. The reason Florida hates the Northeast are because of people like her that come from New York down here.
That's right.
She's gaslighting everybody, and I think the federal prison minimum is 2,500 calories a day. And I assure you, because do you know who set up this camp?
Who was I know this is not his name. I'm sorry. It's not DeSantis.
State of Florida, Governor DeSantis.
DeSantis approved it, right?
It was the promise to be reimbursed by Trump and FEMA. They're using FEMA trailers, which you should be scared that FEMA has these buildings that house 80 to 100 people in each.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we have those? And we have the cots available and the cages available. People need to wake up. So DeSantis built this. DeSantis volunteered the AGs and the judges in the National Guard to hold immigration court there.
That's right. Yeah, because
Trump approved it.
Yeah, because apparently you don't need, and it's just 8 weeks of training to get the National Guard JAGs to actually do immigration hearings so that we can adjudicate whether or not they stay or go.
So that being said, do you think DeSantis is going to compromise his future by underfeeding these animals, by putting them in cages, by doing anything illegal, sewage on the floor, no AC?
Exactly.
You can't do anything about bugs. You can't.
Right.
You cannot spray
It's
for
Florida.
mosquitoes. Right.
Right.
They spray mosquitoes in my neighborhood once a week right now. And you could do that, but you can't do it in the Everglades because it's our ecosystem and our water system.
Right.
So you can't do anything about bugs in the Everglades. Tough luck. You know, if I don't spray my lawn once to twice a month, I will get roaches coming in my house.
Wow.
Bugs are just nature in Florida. And I posted to Debbie Weiserman Schultz. You know Lewisburg Prison, the federal prison in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
You can see it on my Twitter feed. I posted how the cot where you lay your head is 6 inches from the toilet and the sink.
Wow.
And I'm like, you've been a congressman and a state rep for 33 years, and you don't even know what your prison systems.
I know. That's the part that I'm stunned at.
Jails, or what the military goes through.
Yeah.
The military goes through just as bad, if not worse.
I thought that, you know what? You caught exactly that moment, because I completely forgot about that scene at the middle ground of Full Metal Jacket when Private Pyle takes his own life in the bathroom. In fact, you see that bathroom several times before then. Those toilets have no partitions in between them, and they're right next to one another. I mean, I think they stand about a good 2-3 feet from each other, and the shower's on the other end.
And the showers look the same.
Yeah. So,
like if you're ill-equipped, like I came from Hamden, like Maxwell Frost and my buddy, then everyone knows. Everyone knows.
Yeah. It's insane.
She's a gaslighter. She's lying. And Maxwell Frost is a joke. And I've seen videos, Reese, from people that set up this camp.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, it's as nice or nicer than any jail.
I've heard.
Federal. Yeah.
I've heard. In fact, it's the quality of this facility is better than the facilities that they had in Texas that they were complaining about. Remember when they said kids in cages? That was really in 2014? This is far better than those.
Here's a better one. You go back a ways. Oh, and by the way, we're building the second one up near Jacksonville in a swamp too. But here's a better one. Do you remember the Cuban airlift at Freedom Town?
Oh, yeah.
Where all they did was fence in under the I-95 bypass, set up tents and pumped in water on trucks?
Yep.
That by Jimmy Carter was a lot worse than what they're experiencing. If they're getting Florida hospitality right now. I know they're not getting shrimp and grits.
I've seen homeless encampments that were better than that one back in the 1970s for the Cubans.
Right. There's nothing wrong with alligator Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm sorry we're not doing shrimp and grits and biscuits and gravy and fried green tomatoes.
Yeah.
But you're in jail because you didn't come into the United States legally, and you probably committed a crime. But Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Maxwell Frost, and all these liberals, they're gaslighting. And honestly, I'm not a huge Trump fan anymore.
Yeah, I know.
But if Trump had the cure for cancer, for curing pedophiles, they would attack him for it. We don't want to cure it.
Rudy, I got to go.
It's a mental illness to be liberal.
It is. I got to go, but thank you, boss man. I appreciate you.
Freedom.
God, freedom. Yeah, I mean, listen, this, I can say this a million times until my head explodes. This isn't about the conditions that are down there. I'm going to get to that in a second. And what you do need to understand is if they thought these conditions were so horrible, they would be screaming and hollering about the regular prison system, as Rudy just said, all across the country. They would be begging for better conditions, food, living quarters, all of that stuff. They would be screaming and hollering for it because that's been going on forever. But the reason why they're doing is for these jailed illegals is because to them, the jailed illegals have value and average citizens in county have none to the Democrat Party. Think about that. Who has more value to the Democrat Party? Who can you use politically under the same living conditions? We know in county they are drinking their water from the toilets, as Debbie Wasserman Schultz says. They are getting bologna sandwiches. They are putting 40, 50, 60 men in a cot with 1 or 2 bathrooms with no partitions or any privacy. They know this is going on. It's verifiably true. But they're not fighting for those people in jail. Where's the conversation about, nonviolent felons being released from jails under those conditions? Or even asking the prison systems to overhaul the entire system? Not a word. Why? Because those folks and those of you listening to me in county, I'm talking to you. You have no value because if they get your freedom, you're not going to show up to vote. If you get your freedom, you will not clean their toilets or fold their laundry or watch their babies. Some of you shouldn't. But you will not be their slaves. When you get out, you're looking for the payday. When those folks get out at Alcatraz, they'll do whatever the Democrats want them to do for pennies on the dollar. That's why they have value. When the Democrats feel like they were freeing the slaves, they ain't freeing them for slavery. They're not freeing them from slavery. They're freeing them for it. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll read more comments in the chat room because they are blowing up today on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Listen to WTIC News Talk 1080 on the free Odyssey app. Download and like WTIC today for alerts on special programming.
Don't forget, folks, later on in the show, we've got Chris Webby joining us. I've got more movie news coming up at 5 o'clock. Apparently, there's some shenanigans going on with the Superman movie. I got to talk about that because it's funny. And we'll talk about all that and so much more. Also, what Bernie Sanders said on one of the weekend shows, we got that audio for you as well with regards to Zoran Mamdani and the election in New York City and how it is transferring over to Connecticut, as yours truly predicted, with a lot of races now. In fact, we've got some news about Luke Bronin coming up in the headlines, so we'll talk about that as well. Let's get to the phones. Fred in Middletown, what's going on, sir?
Hey, well, just for a segue, I heard Tommy, Mayor Mamdani. If Mark from West Hartford is to be believed, the someone else who's pooping with an absolute lack of privacy is the firefighters in West Hartford. Yeah,
That's
they have a pretty ratty thing going there. What we got here is failure to communicate.
That's right.
Down in Florida. And Monty Python. My family, we were poor. We lived in a hole in the road. And then you say, you had a hole in the road?
Yeah.
Now, my family was poor. And that's it.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
That reminds me of that, also that line in Deadpool, in the first Deadpool movie, when he says that I used to live inside of a box. I didn't get anything for Christmas. All I got was a box. And the girl goes, "You get a box?" I love that. Look, the bottom line is, and I'm sorry, folks in county or in the prisons who listen to this program, and I know you do. I'm not saying that to shame you in any way, but I'm glad that you listen to the show. But I want you to think about this. For whatever reason, you have to go through what you're going through. If there's ever a point where you could be considered devalued, this is one. And again, I'm not the kind of guy that throws dirt on the game. I don't do that. But I want you to think about this in the grand scheme of things. One of the problems many people say about incarcerated folks is that there is no room for redemption, that there is no rehabilitation inside the prison system. And many inside the prison systems will say it's because the politicians don't care, the activists don't care, and the activists who do care don't care about the ones who can be rehabilitated. They just get their money and they run. I get it. I know. I talk about these people all the time. Charlatans, all of them. But when you hear this interest, and I know some people follow this stuff who are locked up. For whatever reason, they follow this stuff, and they say to themselves every day, it's like, man, why these people are fighting for these folks? And these guys have done worse crimes than I ever did. These guys have not just come into the country, but the stuff that they're doing, we would never allow in our communities and never have. But these folks, these politicians are on the front line fighting for them. They're fighting against law enforcement, pushing back on them, some of them showing up with guns. You got other politicians who are making sanctuary cities for them. They won't even allow the police to assist federal agents in finding them and getting them out of the country. They are aiding and abetting activist groups to hide criminal aliens, traffickers, drug person or otherwise. Billions of dollars are being sent across the country to protect these people while you just trying to feed your daughter or your son or keep a roof over your head. The only way you know how, ain't nobody fighting for you. If there's ever a way for you to feel dismissed or ignored, this is it. For you to recognize, damn, even the people who I generally vote for, if I could, those folks ain't even looking out for me. Yeah. It's because you can't perform the way that these people can. You're not going to do their laundry. You're not going to clean their toilets. You're not going to work their crops. You will not be their slave. That's why, until you decide that you're going to be their slave, they'll never care. Let's get to the top of the hour news. John Silva's back. Let's welcome him. He's in the WTIC newsroom. We'll be back.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
Yeah, let's get to some headlines. I heard the top of the hour report about the gubernatorial race, but there's some other news that's now breaking. Luke Bronin, the former two-term mayor of Hartford, is contemplating challenging incumbent U.S. Representative John Larson for the Democrat nomination of the 1st Congressional District in 2026. According to Daily Ructions, they've learned that Bronin, a Navy veteran who served in Afghanistan and a graduate of Yale Law School, told Democrat loyalists at the party's Women's Leadership Annual Lunch that he's thinking about running for Congress. Bronin told Larson, serving his 13th term, of his plans during a Friday meeting. Bronin has been attending party events around the state for months as he contemplated a second bid for governor if Ned Lamont declines to seek a third term. Bronin's eye to challenge Larson in the 27-town district is another sign that Lamont is likely to run again, they say. I don't know. Also, in other political news, Rep. Marie Perez, her middle name escapes me, Glusenkamp. Anyway, Perez is proposing something unprecedented, and I think we're probably going to see more growing support for this. Having Congress's Ethics Office effectively adjudicate whether lawmakers are too cognitively impaired to do their jobs. They're saying that they want to test people's cognitive decline to find out if they should stick around. An ethics review to find out if they're old enough to stay because they don't want to be caught flat-footed like they did with the Biden administration. And, of course, a reason to get rid of some older Democrats. This Marie Perez is only 33 years old, so you can imagine what her motivation is. They want younger, fresher voices. Rhode Island's Governor Dan McKee on Friday had a meeting and a tour at the Amica Mutual Pavilion Arena to discuss the possibility of relocating the WNBA's Connecticut Sun team to Providence. Target 12 News has learned that Governor McKee's office did not immediately comment, but they say that there was a tour that did take place, and they are thinking about getting the Connecticut Sun to go to Providence, Rhode Island. The AMP Arena seats 14,000 folks, while the Mohegan Sun only holds 10,000. And this would also contradict reports that the Connecticut Sun were looking to go to the TD Garden in Boston to possibly play there. I don't know if it's crazy for them to go to Providence, Rhode Island. I don't even know if they have an audience in Providence, but it's quite likely there's let's just say, a bigger bid to get this team out of Connecticut. And I don't think Connecticut is fighting hard enough to keep them here. But, I could be wrong. They could stay. Who knows? Just a month into the 2-year effort to crack down on unregistered, improperly registered cars located in Connecticut, the firm that was hired for the job has preliminarily identified 5,000 out-of-state vehicles, these alone in Bridgeport. A guess could be 1/4 of 1/3 of them will be eligible to be taxed due to those car owners actually residing in Bridgeport, Connecticut. That came from the Ken Flotto, who's a finance director for the Mayor Joe Ganim administration. They are trying to get people who reside in Bridgeport and have cars registered out of state to get them registered in Connecticut, so of course they can meet tax guidelines and of course they can tax them. But them being out of the state, Bridgeport isn't getting their money. So 5,000 cars have been cracked down on. This could grow larger. It depends. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Also, this is a story that I heard about and I didn't report because it was just rumor and innuendo. So let me go back a little bit. A report came out weeks ago that the shooter in the politically motivated assassination of the Minnesota lawmaker and her husband, that the shooter allegedly said that he was acting at the behest of Governor Tim Walz. That wasn't confirmed nor corroborated by any other news outlet, so I didn't report on it until now. The man accused of politically motivated assassination of the Minnesota lawmaker and her husband insisted to the New York Post this week that the motive to kill those individuals had nothing to do with President Trump or his stance on abortion. He's pro-life. But stopped short of saying what allegedly drove him to kill. Quote, "You are fishing and I can't talk about my case. I'll say it didn't involve either the Trump stuff or pro-life." That's what Vance Bowler wrote this week from a cell inside the Sherburne County Jail in Elk River, about 30 miles northwest of Minneapolis. He says, quote, "I am pro-life personally, but it wasn't those." He said, "I will just say that a lot of information will come out in the future that people will look and judge for themselves. This goes back 24 months before the 14th. If Governor Tim Walz will ever let it get out," his own words. If Governor Tim Walz ever lets it get out. And I had one more thing here, a news item I wanted to get to, so forgive me. Oh, yes, here it is. No, that is not it. I apologize. I moved it somewhere, and now it's gone. No, here it is. I knew it was here. Oh, that's what it was. At a January 19th meeting, according to the New York Times, which took place at the Yellow Oval Room of the White House residence, President Joe Biden kept his aides until nearly 10 p.m. to talk through such decisions, according to people familiar with the matter. The emails showed that an aide to Mr. Siskel sent a draft summary of Biden's decisions at that meeting to an assistant to Mr. Zients, copying Mr. Siskel at about 10:03 p.m. The assistant forwarded it to Mr. Reed and Mr. Zients, asking for their approval, and then sent a final version to Ms. Feldman, copying many meeting participants and aides at 10:28 p.m. What am I talking about? Well, let's break this down. We're talking about 10:28 p.m., several staffers and people close to former President Joe Biden were back and forth sending emails about pardons going to the January 6th committee at 10:03 to 10:28. The last line of this is the piece de résistance. After 10:28. 3 minutes later, Mr. Zients hit reply all and wrote, I approve the use of the auto pen for the execution of all the following pardons. Mr. Zients said in an email 3 minutes after 10:28. That would put it at 11:31 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave it to you. Where's Joe Biden at 11:31 on any given day? Anybody? 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 Bueller? If your answer was sleeping, you're 100% right. According to the New York Times, what they are suggesting here is that Joe Biden had nothing to do with the signing of pardons for the January 6th committee. This includes Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and what's the other one's name? Oh, Adam Schiff, Johnson, a whole slew of folks. You know that Joe Biden, his days were from 10 to 4. That man was out of the Oval Office before the evening news. That's all you need to know. So those are your headlines. I don't even know what to say about that, but I'm expecting more to come in the next coming days. We'll get into that. Also, we got to talk about Jeffrey Epstein today because, I don't know, many people are very interested in that story. Let's get back to the phones. Christine is in Middletown. How are you?
Hi, Reese. I hope this isn't off topic, but a new development came through kind of related to the Project Veritas story. I don't know if you caught it, Reese, but the Meriden Record Journal and their writer is Chris Villalonga Vivoni, who is a they them pronouns, wrote a story on 2 trans teens in Connecticut, Reese.
Hold on. I can't. Wait a minute. You sound like you're underwater. Hold on for a second. Say that one more time. Who wrote the article?
The Meriden Record Journal, Reese.
Okay.
Had an article.
Yes. Christine,
the Meriden Record Journal.
Sorry, there you go. There you go. Go ahead.
The Meriden Record Journal had an article about 2 trans teens, and it's the only article about trans teens since the Project Veritas story broke. And it's about the writer's name is Chris Villalonga Vivoni, who uses they them pronouns.
Yep. You know what, Christine? Do me a favor. I don't know why it is, but it's probably because you're driving. But every time you get to a key point of what you're telling me, it completely goes garbled. Do me a favor. Just send it to me via Facebook. I promise I will read it. I'll get you when you get stationary to call up because it's not coming over for some reason. But send it to me via Facebook so I can grab it, and then I promise you I'll call you back.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
All right. Thank you. Let's go to Tom in Thomaston. How are you, Tom?
Hey, Reese.
What's
I'm
up?
in the middle of a huge rainstorm. Can you hear me?
Oh, you're great. You're great.
Okay. Hey, I wanted to say something about Mamdani. Do you ever watch John Stossel's stuff?
I love his show. Yeah, I love his stuff on YouTube.
Yeah. Did you see, they replayed and they had a little more information about that Swedish guy that used to be in government and talked about the Sweden government.
Yes, the recent one. In fact, it's so funny you bring that up, Tom. I just sent that piece to my stepson, Ellis, because he was talking about how Sweden is a socialist country. And I was showing him the John Stossel report about that guy who, I guess he was one of the thought leaders in talking about that it's categorically untrue that Sweden operates as a socialist country.
Right, because they found out they almost bankrupted themselves in the 70s.
Right.
Now, everything is privatized. The hospitals, the schools, a lot of government service, it's all privatized. It's making money. Yes, they still have a lot of social services.
Right.
But now they can afford to pay for them because everything is privatized. So next time a liberal guy comes up, tell him to watch that thing. It's only like 5-7 minutes long, but it's so fascinating.
And what's great about that is that in that piece, John Stossel references the documentary of the Swedish professor. And said, because he said he did the professor does a whole documentary about dispelling this myth that they are a socialist country. He admits that they used to be, but it failed so badly that they had to go back. Another thing, Tom, I want to make sure I've referenced this. So Mamdani has also been talking about this idea to the government seizure of housing within the state of New York, and within the city of New York, I should say. And he talks about I think it was a German model. I may be wrong on what country it is, but he talks about a German model. Well, I went and found the documentary about that government-run housing area. And it starts off by saying when they started the project, 80% of the housing was run by the government. By the time it was over, the experiment was over, only 30% was left. They had to privatize the other 70. Because
what the socialists fail to say, every dollar that goes in to the government, 70-80% goes to government employees, and only 30-20 goes to the people, where when it's privatized, a hell of a lot more goes to the people.
That's right.
The people that own it and are privatized want to keep the customers happy and want to keep in business.
That's right. And again, they do understand it. Remember, there's an incentive to grow privately. There's never one in the government. You know, they have to force a pay hike in government where, you know, in private industry, your promotion or your bump in wages depends on how well or how poorly the company's doing. So if the company's doing poorly or the company's doing well, you're incentivized to do better, to give customer service, to give better products, and all of those things, so that, again, you can either get a promotion or get better pay. I know these bozos understand it, but they hate that model, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a big con.
Yeah.
Capitalism is not perfect, but it's the best system ever devised.
Lifted more people out of poverty than socialism did. Tell you that much.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you, sir. The only thing socialism ever got anybody was death. Jim is in Wellington. How are you, sir?
Yes, sir. You can ask candidate Mamdani there how many rental properties the city of New York owns.
Yeah, exactly.
And then ask them what have they been doing about it. They've had them for I don't know how long before the immigrant crisis, and while people can't afford to get a rent in New York City. That's the first thing. And then there's another 25,000 that are owned by private owners, and they can't afford to fix anything because there's no benefit, because the rents would be too high. So those sit empty as well. So we're looking at close to 50 or 52,000 places to live.
What do you?
And then the other thing. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to say, Jim, what do you make of this Elliott push for governor? Because this guy, I know that Elliott is seeing the motivation or the momentum of a Mamdani, and now he's making his move. Am I wrong in assuming that?
Listen, I don't know enough about it, but only to say this, and I don't mean this in a bad way for anybody that lives in the city of New York. But you know what? You're going to get exactly what you vote for.
Oh, yeah.
And this may be, and I don't think he's going to get elected, quite frankly, but this may be the last dying breath of how a government can absolutely screw up not only the country, because of what we just found out with Biden, but how a government can absolutely screw everything completely up to the point where it's just not workable.
I will say this right now will be a testament. In fact, I was reading an article today that I'm going to reference in the next half hour out of USA Today, which says that what Mamdani's election in November means for all progressives if he wins or loses. I got to talk about that because, again, you make a good point. People are poo-pooing Mamdani's nomination as if to say, it's not really likely. However, and you don't think that he's going to make it. But I got to be honest with you, I really think he's got a shot. I'll explain that in a little bit. I really do. I really do.
Can I throw something at you?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't believe there's a large section of progressive lunatic Democrats. I don't believe they want him to win, specifically because they saw what happened when Biden got in and then bent over backwards to accommodate to progressive policies. And you can pick any subject you want.
Yeah.
I think the last thing they need is to have him get into New York.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Listen, average Democrats want nothing to do with him. I'm going to read this article where what the New Yorker tries to throw a Republican under the bus, saying that he's the guy who's making the efforts.
Yeah, but I don't mean. Maybe I misspoke. I don't mean average Republicans. I'm talking about progressive. Excuse me.
Oh no, I know what you mean.
I
know exactly who you mean. But I got to take a break. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate you, buddy. Listen, folks, we'll come back to this. I got more info on this story about Mamdani and Bernie Sanders, who's now put his foot into this race to support Mamdani, and what the USA Today article says about AOC, Mamdani's election, and how the two were tied in to the presidential election of 2028. Stick around. We got more news, more views, and, of course, your phone calls. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Hey, whoa, hold up. 100 candles on the cake? Who do you think's lighting this?
We're back. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. Can I explain to liberals and conservatives, or anyone in between, the definition of derangement syndrome when it comes to Trump? I'd like to read a statement. And it's important to get what that derangement is by first prefacing it all with this statement. Everyone in this country, especially the President of the United States, has a right to not only free speech, but free thought. In essence, what he believes or what he thinks or what he says, he has the freedom to express it. He is the leader of the free world. And when he is speaking, in asking a question or in an interview, speaking off the cuff, and expresses to you what he thinks about said topic, it doesn't mean that because he said it by the wave of his hand, by just expressing an opinion, it then becomes fact. It's no, you are getting an inside view to someone who is very candid. And by simply saying something, that should be acceptable. But what people on the left and those with derangement syndrome want you to understand is this, is that your thoughts and your speech must be monitored. And if you say something that is to be disapproved of, you must be shunned, ostracized, if not, shut up for it. Now, I want you to take that into consideration when I read this statement in my chat room by Bob. The country didn't deserve for the Democrats to lose. We now have a president recently focused on revoking Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. Focused? He didn't focus on it. He simply said that she should lose it. And changing the name of soccer in the U.S. to football, the name that they call it around the world. He expressed an opinion. In the meantime, we have a disaster in Texas, and this guy is ranting and raving about obliterating Iran's nuclear capability, which Evaporate did not do. Well, what happened? Have you visited Iran recently? Whatever. Okay. Trump is a lying egomaniac. His disrespect for the president of Libya is a classic example of his lack of presidential stature and disdain for anything black. That is derangement, folks. That is what derangement looks like. He's angry at anything black. There's nothing even reasonable in that statement. Calm down. Calm down. Here's the problem, and this is the part about the derangement that they'll never get. What's the real derangement? That what they believe and what they think matters in the grand scheme. What they think is so important in their opposition to Donald Trump. They think they're talking to him. They think when they're shouting out on the talk shows and sending their chat rooms on their emails, they think Donald Trump is going to see how much they detest him. They write as if Donald Trump is sitting in the Oval Office waiting for their correspondence. That's the derangement. Let me express this to you. And I'm saying this understanding my role in all of this. No one cares what you think, nor do they really care what I do. They don't. Those who do care, they know what they're here for. It's for me to break down the events of the day, to talk about what's really going on, to convey that message to them. I understand my role here. I'm not deranged in my importance and my role. You, on the other hand, suggesting that you know what's on his mind or what's in his heart is indeed deranged. He doesn't care about anything black, nor do I, nor does anybody. Nobody cares about anything black. What does that mean? That's not even a coherent sentence. What is anything black? And for the record, just because you're here, can you explain to me, what does it mean to be black? How does it defined? What's the black thing? How does one act black or be black? Are there stereotypical things that we must do? Outside of chicken and watermelon, is there something else that I'm missing? Is there hog moss and cornbread involved? Must I know how to rap and shoot a basketball? Should I be able to dance a jig better than my white counterparts? Exactly what is it? Must I speak broken English or speak Ebonics? What's the black thing? If you could describe that in 100 words or less, we'd appreciate it, because some of us didn't get the download. Clowns, I tell you. Back to Mamdani, who also, by the way, and congratulations to him, in applying to Columbia University, said he was black and or African American. It's so funny, right? Being black is supposed to be the worst thing you could be in the country. It's the worst thing, but yet everybody's lying to be black. Martin Luther King, the guy who started Black Lives Matter, white guy, pretends to be black. Rachel Dolezal pretends to be black, becomes the president of the NAACP. It's the worst race that you could be anywhere in the world, but everybody wants to be it. Hell, you got white folks getting tanned. As I always say, everybody wants to be black until the cops are called. My police friends, don't get mad. That's just a joke. It's just a joke. Just saying. According to USA Today's opinion piece written by Dace Potus, weirdly enough, Mamdani's rise in New York City could open the door for an AOC presidential run, according to this article. As the Democrats continue to soul search in the wake of President Donald Trump's recapture of the White House, certain members on the left view this as an opportunity to appropriate the party for their own means. Democrats are still searching for the path forward, and a socialist rebellion within the party could be it. We'll know if that's the case from the 2026 midterm elections, but the socialist left have its first test this fall. New York Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani's fate in November's New York City mayoral race could be a forecast for the fate of the far-left candidates in the 2026 and 2028 federal elections. Success by Mamdani, a Democrat socialist, could then lead the presidential campaign of New York Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. His failure could end her run before it starts. Democrats will decide that in November. Now, they go on to talk about how Trump and his populist movement has been disruptive. And even if the party establishment against him at the beginning, the very same might happen to Democrats as socialists and liberals work to respond to the MAGA takeover. A 2022 Pew Research Center survey found that young adults actually slightly favor socialism over capitalism, and that 42% of young Democrats had favorable views of Democratic socialist political leaders. As this group ages further into the electorate, the socialists already established see an opportunity to increase their presence, and those losing to break into positions of power are taking advantage of it. And it's happening everywhere. As you can see, Josh Elliott in Connecticut. Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, he's putting a warning out to the oligarchs on the Democrat side. He's out there telling them that Mamdani is going to face a lot of money, but millionaires and billionaires.
He's going to have the entire establishment, the oligarchy, the billionaires coming down on his head. Not only because he's demanding that the wealthy and large corporations in New York City start paying their fair share of taxes, they are worried that his campaign is an example of what can happen all over the country when you bring people together to demand a government that works for all of us and not just the few. So they really want to crush this guy. And you have billionaires saying quite openly, we are going to spend as much as it takes to defeat this guy. You have
$20 million.
Democratic leadership not refusing to jump on board a campaign where this guy is the Democratic nominee. So most importantly, I'm going to do everything I can to see that Zoran becomes the next mayor of New York. And
he wants him to be the next mayor of New York, and he wants it to go further. It's where we are. It's where we are. The New York magazine, I should say. Inside the well-funded, likely doomed plan to stop Mamdani, someone has to fold. Because they're going to split the vote. Eric Adams has only got 11%, the incumbent. Andrew Cuomo is 25%. He's polling better than the incumbent. And Curtis Sliwa, sure, he got 300,000 votes, and that's considerable. It's nothing to shake your finger at in New York. But with the Democrat Party split between Adams and Cuomo, Mamdani's a surefire winner, without a doubt. This guy's going to take the whole race. And Democrats are going to tout him everywhere. He would be a national leader of the party. He could very well be, I don't know, I would say sub-leader. I mean, after that, the kingmaker, Ocasio-Cortez, she'd ride her way right into the White House. She'd ride her way right into the White House. Take out Schumer real quick, kneecap him, and then just run for it all. Could it be AOC versus J.D. Vance? I see it. Oh, would I love that? God, I would love that. Oh, I would love that. I'm sorry, I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. Boy, would I love that. Talk about a presidential election that I would want to see. I would be so excited for that. God, I would love to see it. But this New York article, New York Magazine article, is pretty much going after the head of Gristedes. If you're familiar with New York, if you're not, it's a supermarket.
At a roll.
It's a high-end supermarket. Oh, we got to take a break. Oh, God, I forgot about that. We thought we were in the other hour. Anyway, when we come back, we got Chris Webby coming up. We got to take a break. We'll be back. More news, more views. Stick around. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
It's Reese on the radio.
Ask your doctor if common sense is right for you. Right for you.
On NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Now, I have not told Chris Webby that I'm going to keep him here for a little while. Right? We're going to talk to him at 4 o'clock, but I did not tell him that we're going to keep him for a little while. I'll tell him when he gets here because I had to. Because there's so much stuff about this that he doesn't know that I shared some of it with him, but not everything. And if you're sitting at your desk at home or at your office or whatever the case may be, I want you to look up Candlewood Lake in 2017. Here are the keywords you'll need to pay attention to. Carp, Dequat. 2017, Candlewood Lake in Connecticut. Now, according to reports, Candlewood Lake, and those of you who do know, if I'm incorrect, please get on the phone, 860-522-WTIC, in the next hour, at about 5 o'clock. I want you to call up and let me know. But from what I heard, Candlewood Lake is the largest body mass of water in Connecticut. And I'll get the schematics on this water. But in 2017, Dequat was a bone of contention in the region surrounding Candlewood Lake. And their compromise was made after a public hearing. What I found interesting is that no one, and I mean no one in the media, has gone back to that story. It's only 2017, folks. And there was a compromise made. Dequat was sprayed. But in that story, and it's amazing, in that story, carp was used. And I'm going to tell Chris Webby about it, and I'm going to tell you if you haven't heard about it for the first time. So stick around for that. We'll get into that. Of course, we'll talk about Chris Webby and the attacks on him by the news media. We've got that tenfold because everybody under the sun is trying to go after him on that one. All right, so stick around for that. Don't go anywhere. He'll be back. And you don't want to miss this because there's so much stuff. Just so much dirt. Just so much dirty deeds, man. It boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. And I just love being the person who gets to report it. And my wife, who's angry, is like, we're not even writing about it. I don't care. I'm not here for the accolades. I don't need anybody writing about me. I don't know, due to the efforts of Breaks on the radio. Nope, not here for that. My bosses are not probably happy about that. But again, I don't care. Anyway, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We got news. We got weather. We got traffic. We got John Silva. We got Jason Caterina. And, of course, Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. How you doing, Mark?
It's Reese on the radio.
And don't say we didn't warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, folks, we got Chris Webby coming up in a couple of minutes. We have so much stuff to break down to him. He's online now, so we'll grab him immediately after we get some weather and traffic updates on the 8s, as we always do here. We'll talk to him about the backlash, about him sending out the warning signs, and being Paul Revere, letting us know about Dequat. We wouldn't be here, folks, without Chris Webby putting that online and putting that on X, and, of course, that being shared to this show and everybody else who's been talking about it. We got the news media talking about it to the point where they are embarrassing themselves to protect the use of Dequat. We'll talk to Chris Webby about all of that. I just looked on the change.org website. I don't even know if he's noticed this. So, of course, his Stop the Dequat Chemical Poisoning of Connecticut Waterways is now up to 19,000 signatures. But it gets better than that. If you scroll down, if you go to change.org and you just type in Dequat, it turns out that there are other places across the country that are also protesting the use of Dequat where they are. In particular, as I'm looking at this, one of them is, this one says, let me get to it here. Yes, end toxic pesticides used on public lands and fulfill agreements, San Mateo County, California, talking about the use of herbicides and Dequat in their public waters. So it's everywhere. And as I found out, as I looked further and further into this, it turns out that Dequat was an issue in Connecticut in 2017. And what happened there is going to blow your mind. If you haven't read about it yet, you should look it up. Candlewood Lake, Connecticut, 2017, Dequat, and carp. We'll talk about that and all that and more with Chris Webby when we get back. Let's get another check of weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
President of the Chris Murphy Fan Club, Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
We are back. It's Reese on the radio, hanging out with Chris Webby.
Hey.
How you doing, Bob? How are you, sir?
I'm good. Just got back from some shows. I was out west and just getting my bearings over here, and a lot more traveling this month. But I've been very tuned in and staying on top of this dicwad issue across the board. I've had people sending me all the pictures of all the places they're spraying, and we're keeping it all documented. We got eyes out on everything, as best we can, at least. So
I sent out to you a correspondence that you didn't know about what had happened, but you were just as surprised as I was, and that was that the administrator of the EPA, Lee Zeldin, had pretty much said, hey, we know nothing about this at the EPA, that they're going to be spreading this herbicide in the Connecticut River, and they will be looking into it. And so, which, again, I know that the reason why you brought this up was because you felt in your heart that there was something underhanded going on. Like, you were being the town crier for good reason. You thought that, look, you don't know what shady operation was going on with the powers that be were allowing this to happen, but you knew that it was going on behind the backs of Connecticut residents, your family, your friends, your neighbors. And you were bringing up, what's it like to then be the target of the news media saying that you were spreading mis and disinformation, which, by the way, they never, ever pinpoint what you did that was considered mis or disinformation.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's just kind of funny to me. Like, I'm a hip-hop artist.
Yeah.
So I've been in the game 16 years. People have said all sorts of mean things to me for a very long time. I have quite thick skin. And when it comes to misinformation and conspiracy theorists, I mean, after everything we've seen, especially these past 5 years, that's almost like that's a joke to me. So I think these people that they're sending after me are not well equipped to deal with someone quite like myself. I have a sense of humor about myself, and if they want to get nasty, I can get a little nasty too. I'm a rapper, like I said, But again, this is not about me. This isn't about me. And when it comes to misinformation, it's just like I am very firm on the facts. And there are some, and I'll repeat them right now because I feel like it is important, and I have even some add-ons to the facts. Okay. So number one is that dicwat is toxic to humans and wildlife alike. And the more that I've learned about it, Reese, it's actually an estimated 200 times more toxic than glyphosate.
That's correct.
So that is a reference point. I didn't know the 200 times more than glyphosate at first. And now it's like, wow, that puts it even into more perspective.
Right.
Fact number two, dicwat is banned in Europe and the UK, and we knew this. But I also learned something new, too. And I don't know if you knew this one, but it's also banned in China.
Yep.
And China's the one who makes it.
That's correct. They bought the company that makes it, and they bought it for billions of dollars, right? They purchase it for billions of dollars. They don't allow it to be made in China. They allow it to be made in the UK, of course, where it's banned, and they sell it everywhere else in the world, well, primarily to Brazil. And believe it or not, one of the only places that continues to buy it as far as the Western countries is the United States of America, primarily the United States Army Corps of Engineers.
Very interesting stuff, Reese. Very interesting stuff. Seems like the state of Connecticut's been a big fan of this chemical here. And, to your point before about people not really knowing about it, obviously that was the public consensus, but we're finding out that people even like high up in Connecticut politics didn't know about it.
No.
And it seems like a large faction of people that you would think should be aware of these things didn't even know about it. So this is deeper than just citizens not knowing. And of course they'll say, well, we held a couple town halls, just so they could say that they did actually say something, but obviously that's a joke. They had this window between my initial post and the spraying where there was this large public outcry, and they had an opportunity to, kind of grab a hold of the narrative a little bit and try to explain themselves, because this is about hydrilla, so they say, which, fact number three, there are other ways to treat hydrilla.
Yeah,
maybe
we'll get to that.
They might be more expensive and take more time, but isn't that these people's job? Isn't it Keith Hannon's job as the leader of this project to figure out the best way to do it that people would want? So, but it's shocking that they didn't take a moment and realize, wow, people are really upset about this. It's become national news. Connecticut's in the spotlight. Obviously this is happening everywhere, but Connecticut is ground zero for this story, And
yeah.
They did not take that time. They put out a couple articles, tried to discredit me, like you said, say misinformation, conspiracy theorists, blah, blah, blah. How trust the experts. I love that one too, especially after COVID and the shots and everything. It's you think that's good? Government paid for experts are who we're listening to? Like, come on.
This is going to freak you out. I don't want to cut you off because I know you got so much to add to this because I want to keep you for a little bit. So if you're just joining us, we're on the line with Chris Webby, local MC, internationally known. He's the one who started pretty much the fire alarm when it comes to the use of DQuat in the waterways, Connecticut River in particular. He's on the line with us now. So I want to read this to you, okay? Because you just mentioned the media and calling for your head, saying that you're spreading mis and disinformation. I need to take a little moment with you and the audience to share with them something that the news media is clearly guilty of. And that is not telling the truth. Listen to this. Headline, New Fairfield residents protest plan to use herbicides on Candlewood Lake. Candlewood Lake. A plan to treat portions of the Candlewood Lake in New Fairfield with an herbicide to contain blue-green algae has sparked strong opposition from some residents and other towns that border the lake. To give you some background, Candlewood Lake is a man-made lake located in Fairfield and Litchfield counties of the western Connecticut part in the northeastern part of the United States, as it describes itself in Wikipedia. It's 8.4 square miles, and it's the largest lake in Connecticut, the largest lake in the New York metropolitan area. And it borders Danbury and towns like Brookfield, New Fairfield, and New Milford and Sherman. Now listen to this. This is going to bug you out, Chris. An online petition against the proposal has gained more than 1,000 signatures. You're up to 19,000. But guess what that 1,000 signatures got them? This got them a public meeting where 250 people spoke against the use of DQuat. They wanted to use DQuat up to 60 acres and then use 160 acres, use copper sulfate to treat the blue algae, which blooms all over the area. They say, again, it's choking the waterway of Candlewood Lake. Well, because 250 people, many of them against the use of DQuat, they decided they would only use DQuat, after that outcry, for 10 acres. And the rest, they used sterile carp, the fish. Right. In 2 years, the carp not only got rid of the invasive algae, but all vegetation in the water. In 2 years, they ignored it. They put the carp in and then bounced and forgot about it. And the carp went there and did its job. It did clear the waterways, but then it got rid of every food supply for every other natural fish. So then they were forced to go back and remove the carp so that regular, vegetation could grow, which they did. They ended up removing the carp, and sure enough, regular vegetation grew, and it turns out that it was a success. The carp was a success. And who headed up this effort to use DQuat in parts of the lake and to use the carp on the other? None other than Connecticut Deep.
Mm-hmm.
So to say that they knew nothing or know no other alternatives to get this done is a lie. In 2 years, the carp got rid of all vegetation. Now, all they need, and what we're finding out here is that if they're really concerned about it, just put the carp in the areas where they should be and remove them after it's necessary and just keep moving the carp back and forth. It's far cheaper, less invasive, and less toxic than using DQuat. So to suggest that they have no alternatives is a flat-out lie.
Yeah, it seems like, we're just kind of simply asking for them not to be completely incompetent, and they refuse to even acknowledge that we're talking.
Indeed.
It's unbelievable, really. It's unbelievable. And they just, I'm kind of being used as his lightning rod, like you said, and it's just like they're barking up the wrong tree because I don't mind at all. In fact, I welcome it. So, they're lying to all of us. I mean, Ned Lamont has an environmental scandal going on in his state that is now national news, and this man refuses to even acknowledge it. He hasn't said the word dicot yet. He's still posting about things like as if this hasn't crossed his desk. I mean, if he is planning on running for election again, boy, oh boy.
Well, no, exactly. He'll even just put out a statement other than, I have nothing to do with it. That's the Army Corps of Engineers, which again flies in the face of the guy running around protesting every other week about the invasive nature of the Trump administration. Here we have actual invasive measures being done in the lake of the state he governs, and he's got nothing to do with it.
There are a few people in this state who probably care less about the environment than Ned Lamont. I mean, to learn more and more about what he did bordering his own property. I mean, I know a lot of people know that story. They call it the Chainsaw Massacre, where he had those trees cut down. But it was 186 trees that he had cut down so he could have a better view of a pond from his, $7.5 million house in Greenwich. I mean, that is so despicable. It turns my stomach. So, I mean, it's really no surprise that he doesn't care that our water's being poisoned.
I want to know if the pond that he tore down the trees to view will actually be treated with dicot as well. Probably not.
I wouldn't be surprised. I bet you he doesn't even understand what that chemical even is. He doesn't seem to have his finger on the pulse whatsoever. He's completely out of touch with the people, and we've known that for a while.
Yeah.
But on this one, I'm locked in on this one, and I think it's time we just stop letting these people slide and forget about things. It's just, I'm done with it. And these people need to be held accountable. This is serious. Well, and I'm not going to let it go.
I wanted, because I thought that I would need to keep you longer, but it doesn't look like I do. But I do want to get to this. Now, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the fact that many politicians who have been fighting for this dicot usage have said that the EPA has studied the use of dicot extensively, even though by their own admission, after they wish to apply it, they say that they then need to go back to the waterways and test it every 3 to 6 months. They have to keep coming back and doing that year after year, every 3 months, testing the water, which again flies in the face of it's safe and effective. But I want to know this. Do you know when the EPA did its last comprehensive test on the use of dicot?
I don't, but I'd love to hear it.
According to the EPA's own website, which, by the way, the politicians tell us to go to, the last comprehensive study on dicot was in 1995, 30 years ago.
Wow.
Guess when China did their last comprehensive test?
I would assume more recently.
2019 and in 2023, as did the UK. Everybody did theirs within the last century. But the Environmental Protection Agency has not. And that's the study that they're using to say that it's safe and effective. A study 30 years ago.
Unbelievable. And they want us to trust them. It's really unbelievable. They're so smug about everything, too, the way they've been handling this. And I really think that, the people are collectively sick of that attitude of this, we know best, here's our experts, trust us. And they put out a notice window. I don't know if you knew this, but they had an official notice window and comment period that ended technically to their original posting yesterday.
Yep.
But they've been spraying since, I believe, the 5th or the 6th. So I'm not sure if that's illegal, but what's the point of having this 30-day window if you're going to spray within it? Like spray pretty heavily.
Yeah, in fact, it turns out that DEEP has a contract. DEEP is giving contracts to Massachusetts herbicide companies to spray lakes in and around Connecticut and putting up notices they're finding out the day before, if not the day of the spraying in their towns. We've got Railroad Pond. We've got Lake Hayward that's actually been sprayed. So it's everywhere. Chris Webby, actually, you know what? I am going to keep you. Stay on the line for a second. We're going to come back in a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more about this, and we'll talk about what else you're doing to get the word out. So stand by. We got Chris Webby on the line, of course, local artist and muckraker extraordinaire, like your host. Let's get some weather, traffic, and some news. Jason Caterina's got weather, and Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
We're going to get Chris Webby back in a second. We're going to continue to talk to him about the recent article that came out of Fox 61, which prompted me to write a letter to the writer of the article. Now, I want you to hear this because if you didn't see the report, you would lose your mind if you heard it for the first time. Now, think about this. We've had Chris Webby on here for a while. You've gone to the petition. You've signed it, or maybe you just read it. You probably read stories about it. But to read this headline this weekend, in my view, drove me nuts and, again, compelled me to write the writer. U.S. Environmental Protection Agency denies the use of DQuat in Connecticut River this year. The EPA confirmed there has been no government-led applications of DQuat in Connecticut waters this year, but they occurred in the past and may occur again. It also goes on to say the U.S. Environmental Agency responded Friday to widespread rumors that it used DQuat in the Connecticut River to control the invasive hydrilla this year. Now, in the article, they're talking about Chris Webby's post. Chris Webby never said that they were using DQuat in the water. His alert in his post was that the EPA was going to be using it after July 4th. Why? Because they had put out a statement saying that they would. That was the whole premise of his post. But Fox 61 is trying to suggest that it was rumored that they had used it already, which was never done. And then what is even worse, and I'll talk to Chris Webby about it, is they take two EPA statements and try to conflate them while never attributing them to different people. Just saying it was just an overarching comment by the EPA, which we know is untrue, which I also addressed. I'll talk to Chris Webby about that as well. As you all know, on Friday's show, we talked about it. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin said that he knew nothing about DQuat being sprayed in Connecticut rivers, and he was going to be transparent and make sure that he got to the bottom of it and then told us what he found out. But Fox 61 says that the EPA had acknowledged that the rumor in the use of DQuat's Connecticut River this year led much discussion and speculation, especially on social media platforms. Lee Zeldin never said that. He never even addressed social media platforms or controversy or discussions. He never once did in his statement. That's an outright lie. And because they don't even attribute it, they just say the EPA, which again could have been two different people. They don't even make that apparent in the article. So we'll talk about that. I don't even know if he's read this, but he should. So I wrote them a letter telling them that their own reporting on the 3rd contradicts everything they wrote on the 11th. I haven't heard back yet. Go figure. And they won't. So we'll talk to Chris Webby about that and much, much more, especially about this Candlewood Lake. And also if he knows about the eco-harvesting. I want to know if he knows anything about that. We'll talk to him about that in a little bit, so stand by. Chris Webby joins us shortly. Let's get to weather and traffic with Jason Caterina in weather, and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. How we doing, sir?
The self-proclaimed love child of Rush Limbaugh.
They're running a strange program, y'all.
Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080, WTIC.
They're already telling me that I should let you spit bars on air, Webby. I swear to goodness, they forget what kind of show this is. Chris Webby is joining us on the lines. And we'll get into actually, because I know you're touring now, or at least doing some shows and stuff. We'll get to that in a second. So this Fox 61 article that's suggesting that your disinformation or misinformation were telling the masses that they had already sprayed the waters with DQuat. And that was where the problem started, was that they were clearing up these rumors that we've already sprayed it. Do you want to respond to that?
Well, I mean, initially, obviously, that's not what I said at all. Now, that's very much what I am saying. I have video of these places where it has the signs. It says what they sprayed, and they absolutely have started spraying DQuat. So there's a lot of lies being told here. And, you know, the only thing about my whole stance on this, because pretty much everything I've said regarding this is, in fact, simply information, not misinformation. The only thing is my own personal speculation where, like, I mean, is there something more sinister going on here? We live in a world where we're being poisoned from every direction, chemtrails, food, everything that happened with the pandemic. You know, we've been lied to for these nefarious agendas time and time again. So, yeah, I'm not saying that's 100% what's going on. Is it what I think? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But, you know, it's also not completely out of the question or ridiculous to think these things in 2025.
And it shouldn't be a thought crime. It should not be a thought crime for you to suggest, wait, why would they, other than financial benefit, why would they possibly want to poison the waterways? Right?
And why are they rushing it? Why are they rushing it? They had the opportunity, like I said before, to have a discussion with us. We were clearly concerned about this, caught off guard. So why rush it through in that 30-day window that they said they wouldn't spray? And then they went ahead and rushed through to spray with these Massachusetts outsourced companies, Water and Wetlands LLC, or as I call them, Water and Wasteland LLC. Courtesy of Keith Hannon from Concord, Mass. I mean, we got a lot of people outsourced from another state coming down to poison our water and making these decisions to poison our water. As a Connecticut resident, that makes me quite upset. But, you know, let me just for a moment take a second, because we finally got, it looks like a couple hours ago, word from Governor Lamont on his Twitter about water. It just has nothing to do with DQuat. He said he's proud to have signed a new state law requiring public water systems in Connecticut to maintain the existing levels of fluoride used in water supplies. So now, which is unbelievable, man. I could not. When I saw water, I'm like, oh, finally he's acknowledging this. No, he wants to keep the same levels of fluoride that have been poisoning us and fossilizing our pineal glands for all these years. He doesn't want to change a thing. Now, if that doesn't sound like a Dr. Evil type of guy who might be, you know, tinkering with some nefarious stuff, then I don't know what is.
I find really. Here's what I can't understand about Lamont and this issue. California has protested the use of DQuat and stopped doing it in many of the places where they protested, right? They've considered the environment. This guy who cannot stop riding the strap of California and its politicians, Ned Lamont, has not even thought to even address this issue. But I want to go one step further. I need to ask you, if I could, kind of a personal question. Do you have any children at the age of where they don't listen, where you have to repeat stuff, or you might catch them sneaking, doing the thing that you told them not to do? Like, you know, around usually like the 8, 9, maybe even 5 or 6 age.
I don't have any children.
Okay.
But I know the mentality where it's like, ooh, you're about to get in trouble. And then they run off and try to do something real quick, which seems like what they're doing right now.
Exactly. Like a kid trying to steal a cookie from the cookie jar. You catch them and you say no. And then when you're not looking, you catch them, you know, getting the little step ladder and then trying to get in when no one's looking. Well, guess what? It turns out that Connecticut Deep is the same way. Because we already mentioned in 2017 that at the Candlewood Lake that people protested the use of DQuat and they went another route by bringing in the carp. And we also know about the protest that you started here in 2025 on change.org. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in the Candlewood Lake petition, they got 1,000 signatures and 250 people who came forward to speak up. And then in 2025, you were able to get over 19,000 signatures to stop the use of DQuat. Well, it turns out that I missed another protest, and it looks like Deep keeps trying to put its hand in the cookie jar. Guess what I found? 2020 petition from change.org created on October 12th of 2020 titled End the Use of Herbicides on Public Bodies of Water in Connecticut. They, too, in 2020, in October 12th, were signing a petition that got 2,101 signatures, which, of course, caused them to put a pause on it in 2020. And here we are in 2025. You're getting 19,000 signatures, and they're screaming mis and disinformation, which, by the way, in the 2017 story and in the 2020 story, no media outlets released any stories calling mis and disinformation on people's concern. But now they are.
It was in national news, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
and now they're trying to get the narrative out of my hands, but unfortunately they're just messing with the wrong one. And we have the facts on our side, and I'm not just some person, you know, who's just going to make a little petition and then quiet back down. Like, nah, I got my teeth sunk in this. I'm not letting it go. I'm quite stubborn, and I have quite a large base, and I don't intend to take my eyes off it.
But it's a big, you know what? It's a huge reason. Listen, I'm talking about this on a personal level, not because, look, I don't think that you're a vindictive guy. I don't think that you're a bitter guy. I don't even know you, but I don't think you're that kind of guy.
I'm right and wrong.
Yeah,
I'm right
exactly.
and wrong.
And the thought part about this is that I'm telling you, at least I get this impression from you, having talked to you so far. It's not so much about smearing your name. It's about the efforts to smear your name to increase the opportunity for them to poison the water. Because remember what the objective is. The objective is to smear you so they can continue to do nefarious things to the people of Connecticut. That's the end game. Smearing you only gets you out of the way so they can do what they plan on doing, and that's getting DQuad in the water, which, again, only incites me more. You know what I mean?
They're not going to get me out of the way.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know what they really think they're going to gain by this, sending their little experts to, you know, misinformation. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. It's not going to work with me. And you know what? Like you said, they're barely announcing this. They're putting up these little signs. I mean, I've got people who have shot videos of people out on their boats swimming in this, fishing. A lot of people don't even know, and they're going in the water the next day.
Exactly.
You know, like, so this is a public health risk. I initially got into it because of the wildlife. When I saw what was going on down in Texas, I'm seeing dead turtles. My buddy saw a dead snapping turtle floating in Crescent Lake up in Southington the day after they sprayed. And I find that to be quite coincidental.
Right.
You know, and I mean, those things live forever.
Yeah.
And, you know, to have really no wounds on it, he shot a video of it just floating with its tail up in the air, just down the water. It's like, you know, that got me in it in the first place because I love nature, and I think we're already overdeveloping at such a disgusting rate in this country. You know, in Connecticut in particular, I grew up in Norwalk. It's like there's like 8 trees left, you know, like obviously that's sarcastic, but you know what I mean? It's a different town than I grew up in.
No, I mean, it is. You're 100% right. Chris, I never even knew this about you on a personal level. So you're a really, really kind of, you know, I hate to put it, you're kind of a tree-hugging rapper if I'm getting that right. I'm not saying that disparagingly.
I love nature, man. I love nature. I love animals. You know, I grew up, like I said, in Norwalk, so I grew up right on Linden Street, where in one of the condos when I was a kid, and I remember just seeing that whole area get completely cut down to build the Bob store and the Stop and Shop first, then to build a housing development next to it. So it's like to see what we've done to nature since I was a kid here and know the effects that has. It's never sat right with me. Nature's an innocent to all of this. You know?
I think
now to be poison in the water.
Right.
It's just,
I think the importance of what you're talking about is, in essence, and these are places where, of course, you probably played and you navigated through as a kid,
right?
You know, went and played, you know, be it, I don't know, Cowboys and Indians or hide and go seek, whatever the case may be. This was a playground to you in Norwalk, and to see them gone, you have this sense of nostalgia. So when you see your nature in that way, or at least in your neighborhood eroding and becoming sort of like this modernized, I want to call it a concrete jungle as opposed to
hellscape. I think hellscape works pretty well too with these soulless structures. They all look the same. It's just, you know, the architecture isn't even interesting anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I will admit that. I will admit that.
But, you know, development is one thing.
Yeah.
Poisoning the water is just, it's the straw that's breaking this camel's back. That's just where
Well,
I'm
as my
at,
wife
you know,
said
and
Friday, water is life. And that's the way we need to look at this. They're all alternatives. Oh, that's what I meant to ask you. So have you heard about this company called C&D Underwater Maintenance? Are you familiar with them at all?
I'm not familiar with that company. Do they offer an alternative treatment option?
It's called an eco harvester, and it's being used.
Is that the one with the conveyor belt?
Yes.
Yes, I've seen those. They look great.
They are. They're fantastic. In fact, we've got a listener, White Mike out of Florida. He calls up all the time. He was the first person to tell us that, they use manatees and they use these eco harvesters. And we had Representative Muir on the line, and she said that these eco harvesters only go a few feet down in the water. And then, of course, as social media and as this show sort of progresses and becomes larger, we get a text message from somebody who shows an eco harvester in the Pacific Ocean. So it's like this nonsense that an eco harvester can only be used in certain feet of water. We find out that there are eco harvesters that are used in oceans. Oh, and one better, Jeffrey, his guy's name is Jeffrey Condisco of C&D. He told us that they have divers who go in and actually suck this thing up from the root. So there are alternatives, and no one's looking at them, and they keep telling us and gaslighting us that there are no other ways to eradicate this problem. They're saying that DQuad is the only way, and it's only digging them a bigger hole because the more delay that we put on them, the more information we're gathering.
Absolutely. The only downside I've heard about the eco harvester is it can also harvest native plants.
Yes.
But like DQuad kills everything.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be better to naturally harvest this. I mean, they got $11 million for a budget strictly for hydrilla over a 2-year period.
Exactly.
It's like we can't buy a couple of those eco harvesters and create some jobs. We gotta just go.
It turns out
C&D.
It turns out C&D underwater maintenance, they're not only people who use eco harvesters, they're actual dealers of the boats. They sell them. So they've got
like
plenty on hand.
or something like that.
Yeah, it's $100,000.
Yeah.
So
you factor you got 11. It was $5 million and $6 million Blumenthal raised for this hydrilla thing. So it's like I think you could buy a couple of those and pay some salaries. I'm no math expert. I'm not an economist, but I'm pretty sure they could afford a couple of these.
Look, you don't have to be listen, I always say this. I don't have to be an electrician to know that I shouldn't stick a fork in the outlet. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm pretty sure you can figure out $5-6 million to pay a couple of people a couple of years to get this done in an environmentally safe way instead of using a poison.
And here's the thing, Reese. We all collectively don't need to be experts to know that we shouldn't be dumping poisonous DQuad into our rivers and lakes.
Indeed.
That's just it, plain and simple.
What do you got going on now? Is there any way, where do people go to check you out? Other than on X and stuff like that, are you going to be performing here in Connecticut?
Well, I do Black Friday every single year at Toad's Place. This one coming up will be the 15th annual, 15th or 16th, one of them. So I do that every Black Friday. And I got a New Hampshire show coming up, a Maine show coming up. I'm actually flying out to the UK tomorrow.
Okay, but where can they go? So where can they go? They go to chriswebby.com? Where are we going?
Chris Webby. Just look me up. It's as easy as finding the side effects of DQuad.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you, man. Godspeed to you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Reese. I appreciate you having this conversation with me, too, man. It's important.
You got it, sir. All right, folks, we'll get back. We'll recap this and, of course, take your phone calls. We got Jason Catarina and Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
I wasn't even ready for you. Yeah, we're back. It's Reese on the radio, News Talk 1080. And, of course, I want to thank Chris Webby for being here, coming back. Just want to show him some love to just, he's the person who's responsible for all this. He needs it. I know he doesn't care. But if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have this subject to talk about. And we wouldn't have the victories that we're having because of it. Let me use this minute and a half to talk, because I talked to them about that article, that letter that I sent to Fox 61, which they have not responded to yet, for good reason, I suggest. Oh, I believe, I should say. This is Reese on the radio for WTIC in Hartford. I'm reaching out to request clarification for your article titled, "The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Denies the Use of Dicot in Connecticut Rivers This Year." And I should, you know what, I'll take some time in a little bit to read most of what the contradictions were in the article that I wrote out. And again, I don't expect them to respond, but that was the reason why I'm writing to them, is for them not to. Because I don't think that I don't think that they believe they have to respond to their reporting. I think the objective is put out whatever you want, say whatever you want, and no one is either the wiser or no one, I guess, holds them to account. We'll see. I'll reach out to them again. I'm not going to let up. I just want to know why the reports contradict themselves on the same network, as it did in the Connecticut Mirror. One person writes, they're putting poison in the water. Another person in the same publication the next day says, it's nothing. I don't know. Let's get weather and traffic. Jason Caterina's got weather, and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. How we doing, sir?
Reese, well, thank you very much.
Reese on the radio is getting ready to drop some knowledge.
On WTIC, News Talk 1080.
All right, we got movie news I got to get into, and of course I got the stupidest thing I read today. I know that when we have a guest, I always push those back to the last hour of the show, just because I don't want to take away from the guest and just confuse the whole thing. I don't want to make a mess. I wanted to give a shout out to Zerp on X, who just sent me something I did not know. My wife has been bugging me about getting an RV, and that's her thing. She wants an RV. Who doesn't at a certain age? And by the way, if you have one, I know you're going to send me some messages and say, Reese, here's why you should get one. I'm sold. You don't have to sell me on them. Hell, send me your pictures anyway. If you have an RV, send them to me. Send them to ReeseOnTheRadio.com. Wherever it is you got them, just send them to me, and I will send them to me on Facebook. That's another place you can send them. Send them on Facebook, because I want to see what kind of RVs you got out there. I actually like looking at them. But Zerp sent me one and said, Reese, a lot of RVs have this toilet with the sink on the back of them. And I was like, I didn't think of that, because a lot of small RVs have to pretty much compact everything in there. You know, that small little bathroom, it can fit if you're tall like me, you probably can't fit in those things. But if you're in one of those C-class RVs, for those of you who don't know what those are it's like half pickup truck, half trailer. Behind, they have a smaller version that almost looks like it's a truck. It's like small Winnebago. It's got the van front in it, and it's got the little bed on top of it. You know which ones. You've seen them. Those are called the C-class. Those, you have to put everything inside of that in a very tight compartment. And, yeah, it makes sense that the sink would be right behind the toilet. So, like, a fifth wheel's much bigger. A fifth wheel is, forget about it. That's got all of it. That's a house. It's a rolling double wide, as they say. That's what a fifth wheel is, Lori. My wife loves those, which I think is not cost effective, and let me tell you why. I like the A-class, right? The rolling tour bus kind of deal. I like that because it gives you an opportunity to sort of feel like I'm big rig trucking. I get the CB thing. But the fifth wheel, you pull it with usually a big giant pickup truck. Ford 250, maybe a 350, pretty big pickup truck. It's just that when you're pulling all of that, your gas mileage goes from 17 to 2 miles per hour or miles per gallon. So it's bad. So I would just grab the A-class, big rig kind of trucking thing. Let's get to the phones, 860-522-WTIC. Let's go to Steve in Waterbury. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Hey, why don't you get a Greyhound with a trailer behind it?
There you go. That's what I was thinking. You know what? We can gut the Greyhound. right? Get all the seats out of it, and then the compartment on the bottom, we can turn that into something else like storage or whatever. But a Greyhound bus would be. Every time I see a tour bus, I don't care who the band is. It could be a folk band. I always ask the driver, "Can I take a tour?" Because the tour bus they look great. They're fantastic.
Absolutely.
If I was going to buy one, I would buy a used tour bus.
There you go. Hey, I was thinking, Ralph Nader was part of the Green Party. He lives in Winston, Connecticut. He's an advocate for things like this here. He probably could help get the ball rolling with connections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I also think it'd be great if Webby could do a song about this, really get some attention about it. The other thing I was going to mention, I predict there's going to be a big class action suit eventually with the makers of that chemical. I think there's a few that make it.
Yeah.
I wonder what.
It's so funny, Steve, because there are questions. I was going over my research, and a point of reference in all of this was Chris Webby is being cited because he used GPT. Mm-hmm. And they almost tried to suggest his usage of that was why it was mis and disinformation. In other words, not to trust those things. So it sent me on this errand to use all of these AI devices to get to the answers about DQuat and about its use and about it. It's funny that everywhere I looked on Google, on Bing, on DuckDuckGo, they had no stories about Candlewood Lake. But all of the AI packages that I went through, from ChatGPT to Gronk to what's this other one, the Microsoft Copilot, they all had the links. They all did.
Gotcha. Hey, two more things.
Yeah.
If plants get uprooted, we could always kind of like farm it, get it back to where it should be. And the other thing is, all these politicians, all these people that want to do this, we should ask them what side of history they want to be on.
Yeah.
When eventually there is that class action suit.
That's exactly right. Because I think it's warranted to, maybe we need to preemptively strike. Because,
that's what I'm at.
Yeah, I think preemptively strike and just go to the national level of the EPA.
Yes.
Send a letter to the EPA and say, hey, look, your local apparatus, whatever it may be, is planning on using this. As we already know, Lee Zeldin knows nothing about it, right? Because they're representing the federal office of the Environmental Protection Agency. So if they are working out of bounds or out of step with the Trump administration, then that's something we need to address so we can have those people hauled into Washington and say, hey, what the hell are you doing? And are you doing this with our letterhead, in essence, on the behest of the rest of us, because we don't approve of this.
What's your thoughts about reaching out to Nader?
I'm sure I can get somebody. I'm sure. You know what? I'm sure we can holler at Joey, see if we can get Nader. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to. I don't see why we wouldn't.
At least run it up the flagpole,
Yeah, you know what? I will do that. I'll send Joey a text message today. See if we can get to some.
He's the man.
You got it, boss man. Thank you, sir.
All right.
You got it. Yeah, why not? He's a pretty powerful voice here in Connecticut. He's actually, yeah. Do you know my first? I don't know if I told this story about Ralph Nader, but my first interaction with Connecticut media was WFSB in March of 2004. It was probably earlier than that, because I know it was before we set the broadcast in April. And a woman from WFSB, I'm almost certain it was Susan Raff in her heyday, but walked up to me. I know she was a blonde woman. It may not have been Susan Raff, but it could possibly be. But walked up to me as I was leaving the Big Y. We were just sort of navigating Connecticut before we broadcast on April 1st. And the woman walked up to me and she says, hey, sir, can I ask you about the presidential election? And Ralph Nader had just announced that he was joining in the 2004 campaign. And she says, can I ask you about the presidential election? And I looked at Miguel and I said, yeah, sure. She says, what do you think about Ralph Nader getting into the race? And I looked her right in the eye and I said, oh, well, then I think it's appropriate for me to say congratulations, George W. Bush, on your reelection. That's what I said. That was my first ever question about Ralph Nader in my entire radio career. That was the first time I ever made any public comments about him. Was congratulations, George W. Bush, on your reelection. Because I knew it. Everybody then knew it, too. It was in every newspaper thereafter saying that Ralph Nader was the reason why John Kerry lost. I knew it then. I did. I knew it then. The Connecticut Examiner wrote an article, too. It says, after viral post spreads, Dequat fears a chorus of condemnation, but little said on the science. That was a really, really good article. I'm going to post this on my Facebook page as well. I read it over the weekend. It even mentions in the article the European Union did not renew the approval for the use of Dequat in 2018 following an assessment by the European Food Safety Authority that identified that the herbicide as posing a high risk to workers, bystanders, and residents, as well as birds. Again, the European Food Safety Authority identified that the herbicide as posing a high risk to workers, bystanders, and residents, as well as birds. In contrast, the Environmental Protection Agency published a fact sheet stating that Dequat had minimal effects on humans after application. The agency did not warn that there were higher risks to eye contact and inhalation, and that respirators and eye protection was required for workers who spray it. Again, let me repeat that. In contrast, the Environmental Protection Agency published a fact sheet stating that Dequat, so it's not like they don't know this stuff is going on. I'm just interested to find out why the Environmental Protection Agency, the Army Corps of Engineers, and anybody else for that matter, are reluctant to ban the product and why they're so gung-ho about using it. So you got to get to the bottom of that. When we come back, I'm going to talk about this article about Superman. Look, why am I talking about this? I want to make sure that I make this clear, because somebody said it to me the other day. It's like, why is this Superman movie so important? If you've ever watched movies or television shows back in the day, one of the overwhelming themes when it comes to foreigners, when they come into the United States, a lot of the inspiration to come to this country is always American film. Think about anything you've ever seen in your life where the character or the person you're talking about in question from somewhere else makes a reference to a cultural figure in film or television. John Wayne, Ronald Reagan, anything like that. Marilyn Monroe, Jane Mansfield. That is always the sort of impetus of people wanting to come to America. I wanted to see your Empire State Building. I saw it in a movie. I want to travel there because I saw something with this actor or the Superman is a cultural icon. It's the reason why they keep making remakes of it, because Christopher Reeve and that character really, that became a staple of Americanism. Even make it better. Try this on for size. Elian Gonzalez has a statue in Cuba. Remember him? The kid that Clinton and Janet Reno had to kidnap out of Miami and bring back to Cuba to be with his father after his mother died, with him on an inner tube that floated onto Florida. Fidel Castro had commissioned a statue of Elian Gonzalez standing in a throwing pose. In his throwing hand, was the toy of Superman. The symbolism in that statue was to show Elian Gonzalez throwing imperialism, which was captured in Superman. Superman was a symbol of imperialism to the Cubans. Think about that. Let's get another check of weather and traffic. Oh, sorry. I hit that by accident. I'm just hitting buttons. Let's get to Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. I'm just hitting buttons.
Why not? Cooling the gang.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app. Search WTIC News Talk 1080 and tap earlier today to get started.
All right, let's do this thing. And I want to give a congratulations to David S. of Enfield, Connecticut. He is our winner today of the Between Rounds dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe. If you'd like to participate and win a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, you got to go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. Make sure you put in your telephone number and your date of birth, which is all there. Also, if you would like to win 2 tickets to the Hartford Yard Goats and the 360 event, it's the first ever Goat, Tacos, Tequila, and Taps Fest at Duncan Park, July 24th to the 26th. It's a festive and vibrant event featuring more than 20 restaurants, 100 beverage brands, live music, live cooking demonstrations, fun activities, and much, much more. Your tickets, if you are to win, they're for Friday at 5 p.m., and they include several food samples and multiple beverage samples. You must be 21 and older. So if you want to win, you got to get on the phones right now. We will grab that lucky caller at 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. So you guys, just call it and we'll get you that package. We're giving one of these away, or 2 tickets, I should say. We'll be giving these tickets away at least once a day for the rest of the week. So if you'd like that opportunity to, get on the phone, 860-522-WTIC. We'll get to that. And once we got weather and traffic, that's coming up as well. We got this Superman story, which apparently they're fudging the numbers. Nobody is satisfied with this. Roland, did you go and see it over the weekend, or are you planning on going to see it?
I'm not going to see it.
You're not going to go see it?
I'm going to wait till it come out because I already got the news from my brother-in-law. So.
What did he say? What did he say, good or bad? What did he say? You can say it now.
He said it was trash.
Did he?
And he's like the biggest. That's his favorite.
It is. You said that last week. You said this is his favorite superhero.
I knew he was going to be devastated. He went to see it even though everybody said how horrible it was. And he was like, Ro, everybody was correct.
Oh.
It was trash.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm not going to go see it. I'll wait till it come out. Because it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite superhero.
Who is your favorite superhero?
Well.
Oh, please. Just tell me. If I'm going to be disappointed, do it now. Who is it?
My favorite superhero is Wonder Woman.
I felt it. I felt it. The force was strong with this one. I knew it was Wonder Woman. Anyway, let's get our let's get to weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Mark, do you have a favorite superhero just because we're here?
Favorite superhero?
If you had to pick one, Batman's a safe bet. You could say it and go.
That is a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
You know what? Why don't we say superhero? Well, why not go with Superman? Why not?
Yeah, okay.
Superman.
All right, that makes sense.
He's my best superhero, I guess. My favorite. Hey, if you're heading into Hartford right now, this traffic, well, other than you, Reese, of course, you're my number one superhero, so they all fall behind you. This traffic.
WTIC weather.
I was a big Punisher and Batman fan as a kid, but 2 favorite superhero movies are the first Iron Man, which is the best of all the Marvel movies, and the Nolan era
Dark
Batman
Knight
trilogy. By far the best.
What's up, everybody? You know who it is.
You know who it is.
You know who it is. It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
We'll get to our winner in a second while everybody is on hold. I guess I'll have to save my Superman news for tomorrow. But nonetheless, what the biggest problem was, and I'll just tell you briefly, the scary part, the crazy part about all of this was it turns out that the folks over at the studios, Warner Brothers, gave access to the show, to the movie, before any of the people who are not, in bed with the studio. So they grabbed all of the people who love, getting all the perks that come with seeing all the premieres, gave them access first, kind of under the promise that they would write favorable things about it, which boosted the score. Rotten Tomatoes is a big thing for those of you who don't know. Rotten Tomatoes, or getting a good Rotten Tomatoes score, is a positive thing because it helps boost the performance of the movie in theaters. Here's what makes it crazy. And I shared this with Roland. Did I send it to you in a text, Roland? Is that where I sent you the snippet from the news article?
For
Superman.
Oh, for Superman, yeah.
Yeah, I sent it to you in a text. Okay, good. Because I want to grab it so I can read it to everybody. So again, think about this. So they give access to people who, love Warner Brothers. They're going to write good things about them because they're going to get all the premiere packages, right? They're going to get all the premiere packages. You get first sight of the shows. You get first sight of, everything. You get to post about it before anybody else does. And that's the whole idea. Give it to your favorables. They write glowing articles about it. Rotten Tomatoes score goes up. Then the ne'er-do-wells, they get a hold of it. And it doesn't matter. Why? Because it's pulled in all the money over the weekend. And over the weekend, then it's like if it gets ragged upon, we've already taken everybody's money. So it's not illegal to do, per se, but it is kind of putting your finger on the scale. But here's what I found out, and this is interesting. This was an article that I sent to Roland, and this is just a snippet. It doesn't even matter where the article came from. But it wasn't a right-wing article. It was a left-wing article. And here's what the quote says. Meanwhile, MAGA tried to be the movie's kryptonite by saying it was woke or so much nonsense. No one took the bait. Also, timing is everything. New polls show that immigrants are sympathetic now, so saying Superman is an immigrant is proven to be very smart, the article wrote. So the objective was, and this is what they've always known, that if MAGA conservatives bash a movie, it's done. If people start posting about the movie saying, yeah, this was trash, like a Charlie Kirk or a Ben Shapiro, these guys always love it. Matt Walsh is another one from the Daily Wire. If these guys start talking about the movie, no one goes to see it. And the people who are for the woke nonsense, they don't have a disposable income, as it were, to spend $20 or $15 on a film. They won't waste their money. So the people who they need to go to the movie are usually MAGA folks because they're the ones who are filling the seats. If you're a liberal, you don't spend your time at the movies. You're probably watching something bootleg. So I thought that was interesting that this article wanted to point out that MAGA might be putting its tentacles into the movie to bash it. But yeah, it made great money this weekend. But there's another interesting part about this, and I thought this was funny. The Man of Steel film that came out 12 years ago with Henry Cavill, that movie did far better than this did in its weekend box office. It did well, but it didn't do as well as Man of Steel. So, and they're already saying that this is a bust. So what are you going to do? That's where it is. And by the way, I like Dean Cain's version anyway. And Christopher Reeve. That's where I'm always going to go. Now, let's get to our winner. Rob from Berlin. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Reese?
I am great. Rob, you, my friend, are going to be one of the people that are going to go to our Friday night 5 o'clock extravaganza, which is called Goat Tacos, Tequila, and Taps Fest at Duncan Park between July 24th and 26th. You're going to go to the Friday event, which you're going to have 100 beverage bands, 20 restaurants, and live cooking demonstrations. And you will get several food samples on the house and multiple beverage samples. And, of course, you are 21 or older, right?
I am. It sounds great. Thank you.
That's no problem. Did you want to chime in on about any of the subjects, or was that it?
No, that's it for now. Thank you.
You got it. No problem. Most people are afraid to comment on any of the stuff that I talk about. They got jobs. That's what I always tell people. It's like, these people got jobs. Okay, we gave out the winner, so now let's see if we can get some very angry folks who are upset. Let me go to Sue in Southington. Hello, Sue.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, Sue. I'm sorry that you didn't get a chance to win, but if you want to opine about anything else we discussed today.
Oh, geez, Reese. I listen to you every day, and I'm trying to think what I want to say.
That's okay. I mean, no is a complete sentence. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate, I'm concerned about our waterways also. So I'm really, when you get something, in your bonnet, you just keep going. And that's the kind of person that we need.
I know. And
so
you know what? I think that the biggest mistake was not just the fact that they were smearing Webby about this, but I wasn't really a big fan of Representative Muir chuckling and saying, you can try, because that only motivates me even more. So.
Oh, yeah. That's their attitude. You can't touch them.
Exactly.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, but thank you. Thank you. I'll try to win again.
You're welcome, Sue. You got it. We got tomorrow. We got all week. Thank you. Yeah, that's, I do. I will admit, I get a bee in my bonnet. That's it. Gosh, no one's used that line on me for a long time. A bee in my bonnet. Yeah, I'm sorry. You just can't tell me no. I used to have a boss like that. He said he hated hearing no. I was like, people are going to tell you no sometimes. Because he didn't like that. When I was working for U-Haul, he didn't like to be told by the county that we couldn't open a store in a certain area. He hated that. And he would break the rules. Goodness gracious, he would. So bad. I don't want to. Some of this stuff might be incriminating, but that was the one thing, man. If you got a local U-Haul in your area, like the actual U-Haul building owned by U-Haul, you'd be surprised at what U-Haul is willing to do to open up that building, because the regular town will never allow them to just build there. If you think I always said this to people to understand why U-Haul had no relationship with its community or its local politicians, especially its town board or anything like that. Think about what U-Haul's role is. Usually to take away their tax base, right? Things get bad in the town, people up and move. Who assists them in moving? U-Haul, right? They are no fans. How do they make money? By people grabbing a truck and moving out of town. Now, some of them 85% of what U-Haul does is local. I'm serious. That's an absolute fact. 85% of the business that's in U-Haul are all local moves. It's the other 15% that the towns can't stand. It's like they're just assisting people to leave. Their taxpayers are leaving. They don't like that. They never liked U-Haul for that. So if you think about it, you look at those U-Hauls and ask them one day about their relationship with local politicians. It's rare if there ever is. Rare if there ever is. Let's go to Dave in Bristol. How are you, sir?
Reese, Dave from Bristol. Second time talking to you. Love your show, bro.
Thank you, man.
I want to talk about superheroes, if I can, for a second.
Yeah, sure. You got a favorite?
Well, I love the Fantastic Four.
Okay, so I know you're excited about the movie on the 25th.
Maybe. We'll see.
Well, you got to go see it. I mean, please tell me that you're at least going to see it.
I'll see it, and then I'll see. But Dr. Doom, man, you got to, the antagonist on the other side, Dr. Doom was always the best.
You know what? I know a lot of people who love villains more than they love superheroes. I didn't mention who my favorite superhero is for good reason, because it's a boyhood. It's Spider-Man, by the way. I love Spider-Man. But
Me too.
I've never heard of anybody liking Dr. Doom. And you know why? I don't understand his character in the comics. I don't get it.
He's the one that's trying to control the world. I mean, he's always looking for power. I mean, he represents everything that free people fight against.
So he's a Democrat.
Yes. Okay, yeah, you're right. He probably is.
So now that
I've voter affiliation, but you're probably right.
Yeah, so now that I know that, now I understand how truly evil Dr. Doom is. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. Let's get one more in here before we get out. Robertson Vernon, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Reese. Yourself?
I'm good, sir. What do you got for me before we get out of here?
Okay, yeah, quickly. I'm a new listener, and my youngest son turned me on to you.
Oh.
And I can't get enough of you. But what I wanted to say was I love what you did in the beginning of your show today when you talked about incarceration and the conditions in prisons.
Yes.
Man, you hit it on the button. I mean, these people are crazy. They're nuts.
Yeah, it is.
They got to get out in the world.
I know. And I think it's done on purpose, Robert. I think it is gaslighting. I know Debbie Wasserman Schultz has visited a prison in her jurisdiction before, as well as Maxwell Frost. I'm sure they all have. But to present this, the conditions in Alcatraz as if they're the most deplorable places that they've ever seen in their entire life is laughable, because I know people are watching that every day and going, really, those conditions seem better than my uncle went through. It's funny as hell.
Exactly. You know, my older brother.
Yeah.
He was incarcerated, but yeah, I mean.
You should, you know what? You should get him to listen to the opening of the show so he can hear what they have to say and watch his face, Robert, when he listens to Debbie Wasserman Schultz talk about the turkey sandwich with cheese. That will probably set him off.
The bologna, yeah.
Thank you, Robert. And please thank your son as well for turning you on to the show, and we welcome you to the program, sir.
Thanks a lot, Reese.
You got it. Have a wonderful day. I love hearing that. The younger generation bringing in mom and pops. You know what? Good on them. I appreciate that. All right, it's time to get up out of here. We got plenty of news and plenty of views. So much in the pack I didn't get to today, but we will get to it tomorrow. So make sure you tune in. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your minds. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night, pleasant tomorrow. Oh, and I meant to mention, we're going to have Panics, the group that plays my opening intro song. We're going to have them on the show on Friday. I think we're going to be talking to Daniel Pena, the lead singer of the group Panics, on the program. We'll talk to him, how we met, and, of course, him being the opening monologue or the opening theme music for the Reese on the radio. Let's get to our weather and traffic. Jason Caterina's got weather, and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Good night, sir.
Hey, Reese, have a great night. If you're heading into Hartford right now, this traffic report being brought to you by Amplify Seats.
All right, good, sir.
Thank you. Now I got to start working on this essay or whatever it is.
Between 40.
Yep. I'm going to be working today and tomorrow, finishing up this editing stuff that I wanted to do.
Okay.
Top of 91,
all right, well, tell me if you need anything from me.
A and B.
All right.
Be in front of
You'll see some
thing,
slow
trying to
traffic
figure
as you
out
move
exactly what I'm doing
19
here.
to
Yeah, I see you got to formulate your words properly.
Yes,
Good
that's
ride,
all I have
Cromwell.
to do. All right.
All right.
Bye.
35, 36, 291 through 84, okay. East of the river, 2 westbound's a little slow, merging with 84 west in East Hartford. If you are traveling into Waterbury, westbound 84 slows 23 up to 20.
All right, folks, I see a lively discussion was going on in the chat room about race, but what do you expect? But I hope you didn't miss the rest of the show. We're going to do it all again tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Rama, I didn't see this. Wait a minute. Dr. Doom will be played by Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, that much I know. It'll be the dark side of Tony Stark's desire to protect the Earth. Interesting. That's what I'm hoping to see. And I'm not enthusiastic about Pedro Pascal being in Fantastic Four. Neither am I. I thought they were going to pick someone else. I thought they could have picked somebody else, Rama. I'm with you on that one. Anyway, I'm getting out of here, folks. I love you guys. Please be good to each other. We will see you mañana.